Zoom is processing and talking to Facebook. All right, we should be live on Facebook.
All right.
All right. Whenever you're ready, Chase.
Gotcha. And with that, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Smart with Your Money Live. I am Chase Peckham, the Director of Community Outreach and Education at the San Diego Financial Literacy Center, which is the education arm of Debt Wave Credit Counseling. And as always, every other Wednesday, I am joined by my compatriot and fellow coworker, Felipe Arevalo. Felipe, today
Chase, morning.
is actually an interesting day of what we're going to talk about because you think, the greatest thing, and especially during the pandemic, it was a big thing. Like pet adoption was like, it went like crazy.
It
And I'm not
was.
going to say that we didn't fall into that category. So I would like to tell you this is Tito, and Tito is a relatively new part of our family, and he's a little multi-poo. And much different than our first dog. But we're going to talk today about the cost of pet ownership because it can be no joke.
Right. It can be expensive. And if you're not ready, unfortunately fortunately there was a big boom in pet adoptions and
Absolutely.
everything like that during COVID. Unfortunately, some people may not have planned it out as best they could. And hopefully everybody can figure everything out and your furry friends can continue to be part of your family as we move on. But if you're still looking to possibly get a new pet, a new addition to your family, as my 7-year-old would be so kind to remind me that he thinks it's happening a lot sooner than it really is. The cost of pet ownership, what are you going to spend, what to look forward to as far as expenses go. And we'll get started right away with the acquisition or hopefully maybe even preferably an adoption fee. How much is it going to cost for you to get to bring your little friend home with you?
Absolutely. And this can go many different ways. And you're right, Felipe. It's such a great thing that we saw so many adoptions through the pandemic. And we hope that goes forward, that these dogs and cats and animals can be adopted, because there's a lot of them without homes, especially those animals that are a bit older, and so depending on where you are in your life, not everything has to be a puppy right at the beginning. Those dogs, and cats and those pets need homes as well, and those can cost anything up, zero to $1,000 depending on what you're looking for, but typically not that much. It typically will be the cost of like immunizations or the cost of shots and their medical fees. So it really isn't that bad. It's a matter of knowing what you want to spend with that and what type of pet that you want.
Yeah.
And that's a really big part of it.
Do your research. There might be more available pets for adoption in your area than you were aware of. Your city, county may have a animal adoption program. There's your local humane societies. There's nonprofits. I know here in San Diego we have Baja Dog Rescue, who we've talked to on our podcast before, who
Absolutely.
help out and help rescue animals from across the border and then have them adopted here in San Diego. So check your local area to see if there are any organizations that are out there that can help you out with sometimes, reducing the cost, but then also gives you a chance to help out an animal that may need some rescuing, and who knows, they might rescue you.
Absolutely.
It's something where it's great. Look into it and just be prepared because there is a cost. And then, so you found the perfect fit for you. You're ready to go. You're ready to bring them home. Where are you going to put them? There is that welcome home supply list that you should probably put together, depending on which type of new family member you plan to bring home with you. There's dog beds, there's kitty litter boxes, there's dishes for the food, there's cages,
Toys.
there's hamster balls, there's the list goes on depending
Felipe,
on which
these
pet you get.
pets are not unsimilar to kids.
To babies,
There,
right?
yeah, it really is. Especially first time pet owners. When you and even we're second time. Tito is our second dog. We had Jackson before, and you almost forget what it's like when they're younger because we went out and we were like, Carrie went on Amazon and we got uh, so many toys for the new edition, and it's like kids, those first time
Right,
child, you get all the trinkets and all the things you think you need for the new baby, and then the second one, not nearly as much stuff. So
right.
you can spend a lot in anticipation of what your animal needs, and usually the animal doesn't need nearly as much as what we go out and spend.
Yeah, but that's all part of the startup cost. And there will be some things that they do need. So be sure to budget that in. Maybe if you're already made up your mind that you're gonna find your a new edition, maybe as you're searching for the right edition, you start to accumulate some of these things. Go start to buy the dog bed, the dog dishes, the little carrier so you can bring them in the car. So it's not all at once. I found this great pet. Now I got to go buy 20 different things for it. But if the
Right.
process to find the right pet takes a while and you slowly chip away at the list of things you need, it'll make it a little bit less of an
And what you
impact.
need is relative, right? It's going
Right.
to depend on your situation, whether you live in an apartment or you have a larger home with a bigger yard. Are they going to be indoor, outdoor? It really matters. That's the one great thing
The
about
type
the
of
internet
pet.
as well. There's chat rooms about what do you really need when you're getting a new puppy. I mean, there's all kinds of great advice.
Yeah. And you got your food and reoccurring supply cost. Your little pet's going to have to eat. They're going to need supplies. If you have dogs, you're going to need, flea tick medications. Cats, same. Kitty litter, food, uh, new things for the aquarium, constant upkeep of the aquarium. There's always an expense that goes on, and it becomes recurring with food and all the other supplies that your pet will need. And it's important to put that into your monthly budget because this is a long-term commitment, ideally, that you're making. That's the goal to have your pet in the long term. So that's going to go into your budget. Make sure you add it in, make sure that you're prepared, and then that fits in your budget so that you don't find yourself in a situation where you just can't afford it.
And that's where I will put in a plug for Costco. If you have a dog or cat, I mean, it's a great place. They have very healthy food. They've got a great place that you go to and get it kind of in bulk. So it doesn't have to be monthly, right? You can have
Right.
a higher, a healthy food at a decent cost.
Yeah. You just buy a giant bag of it, but you're going to
Right,
go
but if you
through it
have
anyways.
hamsters or rabbits, bunnies, fish food, I mean those are things that you're going to have to look online or go to your local pet store or somewhere in your community that specializes in that, and you really want to kind of look if there's no byproducts and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
You want to cut costs. You want to be able to spend less on that, but you also want your animal to be healthy. So you want to
Yeah.
have good foods that you're putting in
Check for
their systems.
subscribe and save options where maybe you could just kind of put it on autopilot, and then eventually the dog food, the kitty litter, whatever it is, just kind of shows up at your door. And you might be able to save, 10, 15%, depending on the subscribe and save options. So there's that. And then we have the vet cost and the pet insurance. If you have pet insurance, that's a monthly cost you got to factor into your budget, which can be a lifesaver down the road, uh, financially.
Oh, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Having been through that recently, in our last dog Jackson at 4.5 years old got cancer, and we went through 2 years of treatments, and he finally passed away. But I mean, it was a godsend, the pet insurance. In fact, right before that, we had only taken him to his annual checkups, like he was doing fine. We almost thought about getting rid of the pet insurance because we were paying $40 a month for it, and thank goodness we didn't because it came in they were great to work with. You find out very quickly what is covered and what isn't covered, how much is covered. But pet insurance I fully back it for the mere fact that it'll make the decision on whether you want to treat your pet, not just outside of the humane side of it, if you know cost is a factor. But we did everything we could for ours, and it saved us a lot of money.
Yeah. And even if you're fortunate enough to have a healthy well, but you got your wellness visits, you have your
Oh
shots
yeah,
that you have to bring them into regularly. So, factor that in. These are expenses and they may seem small, but if your budget is, is a solid budget, but is just very structured, you need to factor all this information in
yeah, and
best
there
you
there
can.
is plenty out there. I mean, and you can look in at the health of pet insurance is out there, but the cost that, in fact, for instance, our puppy, we had something called we had our local vet who are phenomenal. We had what's called puppy care, and we just paid up front, and it saved us about 30% over the total cost of all the immunizations and shots that the puppies need to get, or dogs need to get, animals in general. So there are ask about those things if they're available. Now the difference is that you pay up front, but it can save you a lot of money if you have it
Yeah,
to begin with.
doesn't hurt to ask, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you just ask for deals, see if they have a, and the vet places, it benefits them because you've paid and now they know you're going to come back to them as opposed to, switching to another vet or doing whatever it is. So just keep in mind. And we recently saw a news article. It was in the Washington Post originally, but then it seems to have spread all over the place. And you're probably wondering, he just had storybots on there if you're parents, and now he's got Pokemon on there. What is wrong with Phil? Well, there was actually a story where a young boy or young family adopted a puppy. The puppy unfortunately got sick, and they were kind of tight financially, and the son overheard his parents talking about it, and he decided he was going to do something about it. So he actually set up shop after school and went ahead and sold his Pokemon cards, which, if you have little ones, that's a big prized possession for them, uh, to help care and to help pay for his puppies. It's not this puppy, but his puppy's vet care. The mom set up a GoFundMe. It had a great ending because mom set up a GoFundMe and they were able to collect funds. And now they're using the excess funds to help treat other, sick puppies in their area. And they're it had a good ending, and even the Pokemon company employees heard about it and they send the kids some more Pokemon cards, which I guess are very scarce at the moment. They don't even sell them at Target anymore, but um it was just a great story. It was in the news recently, and it just reminds you that pet care can be expensive.
yeah, and with pet insurance too, and people think about it's like all different kinds of insurance. The younger the animal is, the cheaper it's going to be. So if you get it early, I mean, don't wait until the dog's old or the cat or the animal, because then your rates are going to be higher. It's
Yeah,
kind of like life insurance with us, right? I mean, the earlier you get it, the more affordable it's going to be.
correct.
But
All
it's a
right.
great story. That was very uplifting.
Yeah. And a thank you to Katie for finding that for us, or just bringing it to our attention. Training, especially with puppies. I don't think they have like hamster or turtle training, but
I
with you
I think they
definitely want
do.
to, they may, uh, but you want to bring, if you have a puppy, if you have an animal that requires some kind of training, add that into your cost, puppy classes, or whether it's at your local, food pet supply store or their private at-home lessons, whatever you find most affordable. And
And effective,
yeah,
because
whatever
that's
works.
important. This is
Ask
money well
for
spent, by the way. It
recommendations.
can save you a lot of money. This is penny
Right.
wise and dollar foolish. You can save yourself a lot of grief by literally just even the dog learning how to walk, being walked on a leash, to being potty trained. All of those different kinds of things, it can save yourself some grief
Yeah.
in the future if you don't start that early. It's kind of like, again, we're going to go back to kids. Animals, they can be very similar to children.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something you want to incorporate that into your cost, because it could be, a lifetime of positive moments for the pet as well if they're properly trained, less stress on them and all that fun stuff. Depending on the pet that you pick, you may have to pay pet rent. Now, not everyone's going to go out and get a horse. I realize that. You have to pay a stable rent or anything like that. But it might be something even like a small dog or cat, where maybe where you live there's an extra security deposit if you have a pet, extra rent every month if you have a pet, a dog, or
Yeah, it might
whatever it
cost fifty
is.
dollars more a month.
Yeah, 50 more
100.
dollars a month adds up. $150 extra deposit, 50 more dollars a month. That's something you need to incorporate into your budget. That's something where you really want to make sure that you do your research. And if you rent, and you may move, now you've added that extra cost where you got to find somewhere that'll take your little friend in with you, and that may limit your ability to move to certain places or certain complexes, and that could drive up costs that way as well.
Absolutely.
And then, because we didn't get to do it in 2020 and a lot of people are getting out and doing it now in 2021, doggy daycare.
Ooh.
When you travel, if you have a furry little friend that you're not going to bring with you, there may be that added expense, that added cost of having someone or putting your little furry friend into a day camp, or I guess like summer camp type thing. And there's a cost associated with that that'll make your vacations more expensive.
And the expense of this can be all over the place. I mean, there are very like doggy holiday places where they get treated super super well, but the cost is exorbitant. And even just to have the dog stay a night, it can cost you anywhere from 50 to 100, 150 a day or a night.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's a cheap hotel room these days, right? I mean,
Right.
so that's an expense. It could be an extra two or three, $500 just to as part of your travel expenses.
Right.
And so I can tell you that prior to us looking into our most recent Tito edition, Tito, our new dog, we talked about the fact that we do want to travel and we want to go places, and we went to friends and people around us and went to them before we committed to the new dog and said, if you're around, are you guys willing to watch him? So we can kind of at some, obviously we'll give them a gift card or we'll do something as a
Right.
thank you, but it would be a lot cheaper than having to, and it's people they're familiar with. So
You can check in on
they're
them.
much more, the dogs or the cat is much more comfortable, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And they were all, very accommodating and said, sure. But we looked into like 3 different sets of friends that live around us just to check to
Yeah.
cover our bases, because it can be extremely expensive.
Or maybe you have neighborhood kids that might be able to help out. I know that was kind of like my
Yeah.
summer job when I was in high school. On my parents' street, there was a couple people who would go on a vacation. They'd gone longer vacations to visit family or whatever,
Right.
and then they'd pay me to go take care of their dog. Go across the street in the morning, make sure they're out, make sure they're doing all right, feed them, walk them, clean the dog poop. And it was cool. It was good for me because it was, some money, and they'd call me like, hey, how's everything going?
Right.
Good. And there's that option as well, but it's an expense.
Yeah, it
It's
is, and you don't want to
something to factor
neglect
in.
your animal. I mean, they still,
Right.
these are animals that have emotions. They love, for the most part. They're used to being around people, and you don't want to just have somebody come over and make sure they're fed and make them go out. You want and clean their litter box. You
Or
would want
play and
them
interact with them.
to
And
have a social,
yeah,
right. They need that interaction,
yeah,
because that can be stress on the animal.
yeah, absolutely. They don't want to be lonely. And
No.
then, this one was a little bit shorter, but hopefully some good information to think about it. But we've also gone more in depth on a couple different podcast episodes. Our podcast is called Talk Wealth to Me. And we've had 2 episodes. We had the true cost of caring for a pet, with a special guest from Baja Dog Rescue. And then we had our pet ownership painful decisions podcast episode as well, And you can find those on the links at the
Yeah,
Buzzsprout page.
that was a very personal episode. That was an emotional episode for me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Chase, you really want to do it?
Yeah.
But you can either scan the QR codes or wherever you get your favorite podcast, search Talk Wealth to me.
And remember, you
Um,
incorporate the budget into all of this. A pet is like a child in that respect. I mean, not only do they need love and affection and to be taken care of, they need grooming as well. There are a lot
yeah,
of cats, dogs, all of them that need to be groomed and to be kept clean, depending on if they're indoor, out, it doesn't matter. That's something that you want to do, to care for the animal. And that those prices can range as well.
yeah, for sure. Some dogs are going to need a brush and you just kind of brush them every day. And then other dogs are going to need to go in and get specialized haircuts.
I don't know how popular these things are, but I do know, like, if you have rabbits or if you have gerbils or guinea pigs, cleaning those cages out, it's pretty gross.
Yeah,
It can take some time, and you don't want to get behind in that because woo,
right. Then
it
it
can
gets
be
really
it gets tricky.
adventurous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Any questions, any other ideas or expenses that anyone here or anyone on Facebook had that maybe we didn't include? I know there's more of them, but we'd love to hear them as well. Let's see. Yes, sometimes the younger generations are spending the millennials or maybe even younger than millennials spending a lot on their pets more and more. It's you have designer pet food. I know the cupcake place down the street has doggy cupcakes. Starbucks has the little puppy chinos or whatever they are. And there's restaurants that, especially with outdoor dining and outdoor patios and that kind of thing, where you can bring your dog with you to grab a meal, and while you're there you can also get them some doggy treats or designer dog treats.
Starbucks does do that for free, by the way. They will give puppuccinos,
Yes.
which is basically just whipped cream that they lap up very quickly.
Right.
So too
um,
many of those is probably not a good idea,
Probably
but
not a good thing,
it's
no.
nice every once in a while.
Yeah, it's a good little treat, especially if they're already in the car. And they handle car rides well. If they don't handle car rides well, you don't you don't want to do that when they're in the car. But
Yeah.
but there are specialty dog foods and things like that. So if you're going to get those, if you're going to treat your pet to these higher end dog treats or food or whatever it is, you got to incorporate that into your budget. It's not just personal finances. So you can go ahead and do that if your budget allows it. Kudos to you. Just make sure you incorporate it into your finances as you go.
For sure. And they're, again, I'm going to say it again, they're very similar to kids. So if you want them to be in a certain lifestyle and you want them to have them conform to your lifestyle, not the other way around.
Costumes. People put their pets in
Oh, yeah.
costumes,
Oh,
depending
boy.
on, and that can get expensive. Now that might be more of a want than a need, but
Yeah, I put my
you
foot down
know,
there. That's a big nope.
but it's there. Birthday presents for dogs. If you're gonna throw your pet a big birthday party and have their puppy friends over, that could be an added expense. Driving out to the dog park or dog beach here in San Diego, can add small little expenses. If you can do it consistently, you want to try and incorporate that in. Um, any other? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And we have not next Wednesday, but in 2 weeks, we have common money disorders. That's coming on 23rd.
Yeah, this is a very interesting one, Phil, because so much of how we spend our money or save our money is so psychological and emotional. So a lot of the ways that we do things obviously come through where we are in our life and the emotions that we have, and that can be a big effect on your finances. So it's good to, as we commonly say, it's good to look in the mirror and kind of figure out what how you feel about money, and maybe even find out that there are many of them, by the way.
Right. So
And
that
you're
should be
not
a good
alone.
one. Should be a lot of info on that one. So join us. You can watch this on playback if you're not already on YouTube, the many different social media pages, and yeah, hope you join us.
So long, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Phil, fun as always.
Yeah, it's always fun.